Well, Good Friday evening, day 1401 of this Trump administration. 61 days remain until the inauguration, 2 months from today, in fact. And it's been 13 days since the race was called for Joe Biden. Tonight, the pandemic is still raging out of control in these United States, with over 194,000 more cases reported just in the course of today. That's another daily record. We lost another 2,000 people just yesterday. Yet the outgoing president remains laser focused not on the pandemic, but on overturning the results of the election. Today, the president met with Republican state lawmakers from Michigan. They were summoned to the White House as Trump's legal team is seeking to have the GOP-run state legislatures just go ahead and name Trump electors in states that were won by Joe Biden. The White House press secretary today called the meeting routine. Nothing to see here. And in a statement, the lawmakers didn't say whether the president pressured them to overturn the results, but they did say this, and we quote, "We have not yet been made aware of any information that would change the outcome of the election in Michigan." But they did get to see the White House. The Michigan State Canvassing Board is scheduled to certify the vote on Monday. Georgia officially certified its election results today following a hand recount of nearly 5 million votes. That means the state's 16 electoral votes will officially go to Joe Biden. Earlier today, the president held what was billed as a news conference on prescription drug prices. He took no questions, but did say this about the election.
This is not an easy thing to do. Big Pharma ran millions of dollars of negative advertisements against me during the campaign, which I won, by the way, but, we'll find that out.
And while that is false, he did make a curious aside when praising himself and his administration for all the work he's done on drug prices.
There'll never be anything like this. I just hope they keep it. I hope they have the courage to keep it.
He hopes they keep it in place, presumably meaning the Biden team that takes over in that place January 20th. Still, as Trump refuses to concede, Biden and Harris met with Schumer and Pelosi in Wilmington today, a lot of it devoted to discussion of the need for an emergency aid package. All this comes amid the awful, relentless, and dark winter surge of coronavirus across our country. Our nation's been averaging about 165,000 new cases a day over the past week. Total cases nearing 12 million now. Deaths, of course, have passed 255,000. Today, the president's son, Don Jr., became the 49th person connected to the White House or Trump campaign that we know of to test positive for the virus. Spokesperson said he is asymptomatic and quarantining after testing positive earlier this week. Rudy Giuliani's son, who works for Trump in the White House, has also tested positive for the virus. Andrew Giuliani was at his father's nearly 2-hour-long indoor press conference yesterday at the Republican Party chairman headquarters, the press conference that will be remembered for the flop sweat hair dye ooze. And Rick Scott, proud Florida Republican, became the latest member of the Senate to announce he has tested positive for coronavirus. Senator Scott says he has mild symptoms but is feeling good. Today, Dr. Fauci addressed the massive spike in new cases.
We're not going to completely eliminate it and turn it around rapidly and dramatically, but we can prevent it from increasing. You look at the curve, Chuck, it's almost exponential when you compare the curves in the spring and the curves in the summer with the inflection of the curve where we are right now. We should not accept that we can't do anything about that. Putting vaccines aside for a moment, which will be extraordinarily helpful, if we implement the simple public health measures that I was mentioning to you, we can blunt that inflection.
There is more encouraging news today on the vaccine front. Today, Pfizer applied for emergency approval from the FDA. New York Times reports regulators at the FDA plan to take about 3 weeks to review the vaccine. Meanwhile, there's growing concern Trump's refusal to concede will hurt the Biden effort to fight the pandemic. Earlier today, frequent guest on this broadcast, Dr. Michael Osterholm, who now sits on Biden's advisory board, said this about the need to share information.
Prior to being on this advisory group, I actually had frequent conversations with members of the NIH, the CDC, the FDA, all of these areas in terms of looking towards what can we do, how can we address this pandemic. And since I've been a member of this group, I have not been allowed by law not to speak to these people. This is a big problem. And you can't minimize it by just saying the people who are there now will be there at the end. It's really important that the transition team have access to the kind of information that will allow them to plan now for hitting the ground running on January 20th.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.